module sewage systems allows you to design indoor gravity sewage system with direct ventilation of risers or with ventilation collectors. The general data and project options define the most important parameters of the installation, including minimum pipe run gradients, which are automatically included in the installation model during design. The module enables the insertion of sanitary fixtures or may use fixtures introduced at an earlier stage of hot and cold water installation project. Risers can be automatically ended with elements providing ventilation. The calculations, apart from the balance of flows and the determination of diameters, also perform the automatic vertical layout of pipe runs of the installation, taking into account also the limitations resulting from the geometry of the design elements. A list of pipes and fittings is also generated automatically. The drawing documentation is supplemented with an automatically generated schematic view of the installation. In the settings window, you can choose between light and dark screen modes. For many, the preferred dark mode has been developed and adapted to the entire application. Working with the dark mode reduces eye fatigue and saves energy consumed by the monitors. The InstalSystem 5 package can correctly handle frame buildings such as office buildings or modern buildings with advanced structures. At the stage of creating a building structure, a new element curtain wall can be used. The new function inserts a vertical curtain wall, presented in 2D and 3D views and included in thermal calculations of the building. The curtain wall, as an IFC curtain wall object, is also imported from IFC2x3 and IFC4 files and interpreted into the native structural element of the InstalSystem 5 package. It is also possible to convert sub-partitions together with the wall element into the curtain wall element from the data table window level. Launching the calculations of the building structure together with thermal calculations generates the correct, dedicated type of the thermal partition together with the resulting heat load of the room and the building. The InstalSystem 5 package, after appropriate modeling of the roof edge, determining its slope and performing calculations of the building structure, diagnoses slabs and roofs that intersect each other. After selecting these elements, the new function trim slab by the roof element precisely cuts the outer part of the slab with the roof slope, generating the correct shape and size of the slab. Even with very complex roof structures, it eliminates the need to manually edit the structural model. It is enough to remove the redundant walls from the last floor and recalculate the building structure to obtain the correct model of thermal partitions for each story. The intersecting walls created during manual input or IFC interpretation prevent the generation of an automatic room. The program diagnoses such situations and indicates these objects. Correct wall connections function available in the correction of wall geometry window connects intersecting walls, releasing the designer from the need to manually correct such situations. After recalculating the building structure, the program correctly recognizes the rooms. The new option enables visualization in the 3D window of the values entered in the floor thickness and false ceiling fields for each story. These values are defined on the Stories Management tab in the General Data window. Floor thickness and false ceiling are presented in the form of additional edges drawn within the rooms in the 3D view. This functionality makes it much easier to determine the position of installation elements, in particular water supply, sewage and prefabricated panels in ceiling heating or cooling systems. Moreover, on the Component Styles tab in the General Data window, it is possible to define the degree of darkening of the area in which the designed floor or suspended ceiling is located. The new Prefix for Layers option allows you to assign an individual prefix to layers created by InstalSystem 5 and exported to the DWG format. This makes it easier to find and edit layers in the resulting DWG file, for example with installation drawings, next to layers containing architectural elements or building equipment. Setting export labels as basic elements allows for easier and faster editing of labels in the exported DWG file without necessity of edit the blocks first. The previous option of exporting labels as blocks of elements was also left to choose from. The new Element Layers drop-down list allows you to control the range of elements exported to DWG, DXF formats, generally at the level of entire editing scopes, and more precisely at the level of individual items. In the General Data window, on the Heat Losses Data tab, it is possible to declare the minimum area of the thermal partition to be included in the calculations. After performing the calculations, the program lists in the Diagnostics window partitions below the defined value and highlights them in 2D and 3D windows. The user can decide individually for each partition whether the indicated partition is to be included in the calculations or not, by selecting the option in a data table or through the dedicated Heat and Energy window for the selected room. Finding such partitions is also facilitated by the possibility of sorting the table of partitions according to their area. This additional option to sort the table according to the selected parameter facilitates the analysis of even the most complex thermal model. In the left part of the interactive calculations window, the manifolds tree is presented. In the case of projects of larger installations with many manifolds, this enables quick and convenient navigation between successive heating circuits. Changing the cooling value of the medium in the deltaT field results in an immediate recalculation of flow parameters, obtained output and settings on the manifold. Thanks to this, without the need to perform full calculations, you can correct parameters in individual loops in a flash. The covering and settings on the manifolds are presented for each heating, cooling surface. Thanks to this, it is possible to directly verify the influence of the introduced changes on the selected settings. The automatically generated schematic view may include virtual pipe feeds between the manifold and heating-cooling zones. Thanks to this, automatic schematic view can also be obtained in projects where a detailed design of radiant installation is not required.